Hi, I'm Andrew,
Hey, I'm Colin.
and this is our college football podcast.
Alright, so this week I think the first thing we should talk about is the incoming college football rankings. Now we know that it's week 12 and the AP and the coach poll come out, but this is going to be filmed before we have the official playoff rankings. Alright, so based on this week, how much do you think it could change the implications for a lot of these teams making college football playoff?
I think going into next week, I think there's some pretty big games. Obviously like Oregon's gonna make it in, Ohio State's gonna make it in, Georgia's gonna make it in, but there are a lot of like some fringe teams such as LSU and Washington State and Kansas State and A&M, which all have like a chance for sure, but they're gonna really need to prove themselves. Perhaps some conference championship wins would really like go a long way for them.
So right now we have the AP Top 25 poll, and I think for anyone who's waiting to see, what's the college football playoff poll going to look like, I think it's going to be very similar to the Top 25. As we saw last week, it was almost identical. I think one swap between Georgia and Ohio State, which, it makes sense. Georgia lost again, now they're 7-2. So I'll just say it right now, the Oregon Ducks are by far the favorite right now. They're not going to be number one, I guarantee you that, and it's not surprising at all. One thing I do think that stands out is the Big Ten is by far the strongest conference right now in the AP poll. They have 4 out of the 5 top teams.
Yeah, and I think this is just mainly because like the SEC cannibalizes itself. All the SEC teams, most of their losses come from other SEC teams, and if you're in the SEC and you have like a bad week, your chances are you're going to play a really strong team. Conference games are always like pretty strong for the SEC. Really, only Mississippi State's like a bad poverty school, in the conference. So it's can't get a break right now. University of Miami, they did lose. However, now that they're because they're in the ACC, like most games that they play, the opponents are pretty like lackluster, not very good. So they'll get into the playoff, and they'll probably get in with a pretty high seed. But to be honest with you, I don't think they'll make it that far.
So if you're one of the college football playoff voters and you're trying to decide, do we just let in like 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten teams at this point, maybe even 5, because everyone knows 5 of the top 12 teams are from the Big Ten, or at least 4 of them, and same with the SEC, where you're looking at teams like Miami. If Miami wasn't the SEC, Miami would not be ranked. I completely stand with that take.
Right, a lot of like schools such as like I would say Miami's pretty akin to Missouri, and Missouri's now 6-3. They were ranked pretty highly touted, and now they're unranked. So I would agree if Miami was in the SEC, they would be ranked. And I think because like the SEC and the Big Ten are so strong, I think you have to like a lot of spots to schools from both conferences. Now that Iowa State and Pitt are like both out of the top 25, I think like you're just gonna have to like a bunch of spots to teams that are more deserving.
So we know they're gonna take at least 3 teams from some of these conferences. So right now, as it stands, the top 2 teams in the ACC are SMU and Clemson. So what do you think of that? Do you think Miami could get left out of the ACC championship?
I think if they do, I actually think that they'll sneak into the CFP playoff, and whoever doesn't win the conference championship just won't make it, because I don't think that there's like enough room. And Clemson, they've been pretty lackluster. They recently had like a pretty bad loss, and SMU, they were a group of 5 like not too long ago, but they have proved themselves. But with a loss to I think BYU by like 3, and BYU themselves, they're undefeated, but they're not a great team either. I think whoever doesn't win the ACC championship, like they could just be left out of the playoff.
So I think what that kind of shows there is that SMU coming from like a group of 5 conference, going 8-1, 5-0 in the ACC really validates the take that the ACC is not a strong conference. And I think that does the same exactly with BYU, showing that a team like Colorado, who was awful, like not good in the Pac-12, they were almost last place, is now going 5-1, as well as BYU wasn't even in a power conference last year. I think that really shows the weakness of some of these conferences, like the Big 12 and the ACC. While teams like USC going 2-5, obviously yes, they are worse, but I do think it really shows how tough these Big 10 and SEC conferences are.
All right, I think we should move on from CFP playoff early predictions. Like obviously we'll revisit it more like when the rankings come out and whatnot. But I think we should move on to are we doing week recap or no?
No, I think we should go
straight into
week
predictions
12
for next week. All right.
So week 12. So there's gonna be probably the biggest ACC game of the year. I'm gonna go straight to Clemson Pittsburgh, 2-7-2 teams. They're ranked okay. So what do you really think about this?
Yeah, I think Clemson was pretty severely overrated with one loss to Georgia until they lost like pretty recently. Now they're 23. Pittsburgh at 18. Both pretty comparable teams. However, Pittsburgh has 2 losses in the ACC. Even though this is a home game, I think Clemson will take this for sure, and Pittsburgh will definitely be unranked after this game.
Yeah, this is a must-win game for Pittsburgh. If they do not win this game, their college football playoff hopes are completely out.
2 losses in a row for them, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to, I think there's not that many big games this week, but I think the biggest one would be Tennessee, Georgia. What do you have here?
This will be like pretty awesome because Tennessee is largely unproven except with one huge win against Bama. Yep. I mean, the other big win that they had was Oklahoma, and they beat them by 10. Oklahoma is now unranked. However, they are an SEC school. They are nearly undefeated with 1 loss to Arkansas. I think that, this will be extremely close. I think Georgia will win. It is at home at Georgia. And Georgia coming off of a loss, I think that they're going to be pretty fired up to go out and win some good SEC football,
I actually like the Volunteers. They are a sneaky good team. That's kind of what I have to say about them. They have not been talked about a lot. There hasn't been that much hype with them. But I honestly think Tennessee, if they don't win, they're going to probably beat that 9.5 spread that Georgia has on them.
Yep. Any other games? I mean, I'm looking here that stick out.
I mean, we could go talk about USC, Nebraska.
Yeah, we can. Let's. Who do you think is gonna win? Earlier this year, like after the LSU game, I'd be like, oh, the SC will take this cleanly. But now with in conference they're 2-5 with a losing record. What do you think?
Well, I honestly think USC will win. Here's why. Miller Moss had the 27th best QBR in the country and got benched. So if you're gonna bench a guy with respectable stats, I mean not great, but respectable, your backup's gotta be pretty good. And I have seen Jaden Mayava, and he has been good in the limited snaps he's gotten. He's more mobile, which I think if we had a mobile quarterback this year, we would have been a lot better. So I think that the UNLV transfer will get the job done.
Yeah. Not a whole lot to say here. I'm pretty down on SC, but hopefully with the change at quarterback, I don't know if is Gentry is Gentry healthy now?
I'm not sure.
Well, with Bear Alexander redshirting, Gentry unhealthy, Kamari Ramsey out as well. A lot of losses on the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, Miller's transferred. The whole team's just quit.
Right.
That's
same as last year. Same as the year before when we lost to the Cotton Bowl.
Quitting mid-season. I mean, that just.
Yeah. Right, it brings me flashbacks to the game against UCLA where the offensive line essentially stopped trying. A lot of disappointing results for this USC team going back to the Helton era. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they'll win this, but I don't know if it's going to be super clear cut and an easy win.
Yeah. All right. So I
want to end it there.
Do you think there's any more games you want to talk about?
No, as you guys maybe have guessed by the trend, we're trying to cut down on the length of our videos because they're kind of long, and now we're also switching to shorts. So if you haven't already, go like, subscribe, and go check out our shorts because we've we've made 2, and we'll probably make 2 more. You know,
Yeah.
by the time you're seeing this
Yeah.
video.
Well, thank you for watching.